Greetings, Fire Knights. Welcome to my channel. Exposing darkness, exposing things that are also being revealed to me in this present year of 2024. I come as a servant of the most highest divinity. I'll just say that. I'm not in the New Age. I'm not New Age. I get things. I receive, so on and so forth. Especially when I talk about things like graphene and everything. What I receive, if you ever heard the term, I'm sure people out there have seen the show Blue Bloods. And you also have red bloods. But what does all this mean when you have blue bloods and red bloods? You have the two descendants. You've seen it in other movies, like I can name one number one movie I've seen: the blues, the reds, and the greens. There are things I've seen in regards to this year. Forgive me. It's like a pack, okay, like a pack or a tribe or a group. And we're going back, what are red bloods and blue bloods like? Red bloods and blue bloods are the descendants, basically. What is the root and where did all this start at? It started at Cain and Abel with the sacrifices. The sacrifices with the blues, the blue bloodline, which actually was a cursed bloodline. So God cursed Cain's bloodline. He put a mark on Cain to know, and as a symbol and representation of his bloodline has been cursed, his zealous bloodline, because the day he killed his brother was the day the spirit of jealousy had entered into his body. And so, since his bloodline has been cursed, ever since that day, his descendants, his children, everything that came after him have been cursed. And I can go into, and all these descendants down this bloodline have been part of things like Freemasonry and all this other stuff. That the number one thing you have to consider is, with these blue bloods, was there different organizations, but really was it spiritual, as in, I see spiritual as in like the red and the blues have DNA. And you think of, there's needles and they're intermingling, they're tapping into both, but every time they touch both DNA strands of each bloodline, they light up, they come alive, because they're both still existing today. Okay? And the blues do come from Cain's bloodline. The blues basically is like the bloodline of the tares, for them to, the ones that will never receive what is actually real in this world, versus the reds. The reds will receive versus the blues will never. And basically, it comes to the end of the day that the blues are for feminism, femininity, feminism, but it's really for a feminine role. Also, it's really for people that never receive a spirit of light, never receive things they're supposed to receive. I guess to really say these people have gone astray to what is But really, if you don't know anything about it, it started with those two sacrifices. Cain came with the bull, and he was denied. He was rejected. Or no, he came. Yeah, he came with the bull, and it was really filled with the copper-based blood. Versus the other one that was alkaline. And it's funny how I mentioned copper-based. What else have I been talking about? You find copper in. You find copper and graphene. What I've been talking about. And it's almost like I just received something from God right now. That copper based is literally deadly for humans. Copper and graphene, copper in the sacrifice, rejected, filled with corruption. Even with the blue bloodline race that was marked specifically from the highest divinity. Cursed, because that's why the mark was put on the bloodline. To curse the bloodline, curse blue bloodlines, and you've heard the phrase the 13 families are part of these 13 bloodlines. Blue bloods, that's what they are. You've seen symbolism. They put it in Hollywood movies. I can name Resident Evil, greens, reds, and blues. Democrats and Republicans think that they have the reds for the conservatives and the blues for the liberals, for the Democrats, whatever. It's almost like it's a spiritual thing going on here. It's not even physical. It goes beyond our physical realm. It's almost like, to me, I was hearing this. It's really almost like it's spiritual in a way. It has to go past this physical realm because, okay, if it's not, it doesn't seem like it's. I don't hear about this stuff physicals. Other people, yeah, they may talk about it, but why do I see the symbolism? Because it speaks for itself. So I'll show you rather than tell you. It's almost like it goes past the normal human mind, as in it goes past the physicalities of our physical realm, physical plane. It's a spiritual plane. It goes in to the other side. At least to me it does. Because anything that goes past this physical realm, where else is it going to go or come from? It's going to come from a spiritual realm. You know, I understand here today it says, hey, they're literally trying to get anything that's to do with spirituality. Has to, oh, well, you're talking about God. They're trying to literally erase God out of society, out of everything. So, and it's not even just God, it's spirituality in general. Because it's maniacal. It's layer upon layer of deceit. Blues and reds, just know reds are for truth, blues are for the lie. What is the truth? It's God, Christ, God our Savior, Jesus, divinity, Yahweh, Adonai. The blues come from the not so good place. The liar's chair, the deceitful place. The generational curses, the plagues, the Decepticons, the manipulators, all that and above. Just know that. Very nice. And also, if you didn't notice something, if you ever watched Resident Evil, and you notice how the blues and the greens were either demonized, they were demons. Greens were like demonized. Blues were always mutated. The genes and the genomes within the genes are always mutated. There was no exact order within the genome. The whites and the bloods had a runoff. They were not mixing. They were always, the genes and the cells were always fighting against one another. And you know what else is? The kingdom of darkness is always fighting against each other. And the kingdom of light. So when these cells within the genome are fighting against one another, they're not pairing, they don't work. It's not the whole situation when two heads are better than one. It's literally they're trying to kill each other off. That there was always a mutation to create more monsters, more mutation. What are those creatures with those long tongues? They were creating those things with the blue blood virus, the T virus, all these other viruses, the anti-T virus, the negative, the other viruses. Who was the guy, Siler, or the guy with the glasses who was actually a mutant, and his body and his whole face would mutate out. It was creating these different hybrid beings, and I can get into graphene and all this other stuff, but I'm just saying, why was it always fighting with the other cells? Because it was a mutation. It was not of nature. It was actually going against nature in general. Because everything that goes with in tune with nature is not cursed. There's always a certain flow within nature that works, even if it's survival for the fittest. Still, the undertone of nature is with the right genome, within the right genome, with the right cells to fit in tune with the exact genome of what helps it co-create, populate, and repopulate, even with white and red blood cells within a human and animal body to let it co-create, repopulate the earth. And there's not going to be fight, and it's not going to mutate anything to make it, give it a deformity, give it extra powers. And you think of that movie, how these beings actually had powers and everything. They weren't just mutating like you think of people just mutating and that's it. No, these things had powers when they mutated. So they had extra heads and all this other stuff. And it's just like, that makes me think of graphene, how they were using black magic, satanic rituals, and fallen angel technology. There was that light that went off for the conception, birth through chaos. That light that went off. It was not only mutating them, it was giving them extraordinary supernatural powers to do certain things. Like leprechauns and fairies and all these things could literally kill you using different spells, magic, and all this stuff. These dinosaurs, just all this stuff. Like, it was more than just about the mutations. It was about defying and redefining everything in logic about everything within our spectrum of this entire world's reality and everything that was within nature. It goes beyond just mutating, like deforming something. It literally, like I've even seen in these games where they're even talking about they would not only mutate and transform these beings, they would have supernatural abilities and powers. Like, I'm telling you, man, when I state things like graphene, the greens and the blues, this goes past, besides the people that are still working in these underground labs, within these science labs and all this stuff that are still going on today, this would literally go past humans' minds, because your normal human being can't fathom and conceptualize this stuff. What we use only about like 10% of our brain. We don't even use 100%. So how can you say that like normal human beings can even conceptualize stuff like this, unless you have clearance and you're in that field to work with someone higher up than you, to want you to, like, people like who are like, think about these scientists who are working alongside with Hitler. what his plan was, what they were doing. They were experimenting, and it's not only they were deforming and doing these things to human beings, there was a supernatural thing going on here. They were working within the occult, real society, and I can get into real society later, that there was a supernatural element other than just, hey, I want to do this and this, A, B, and C. There was a supernatural realm within that, and yes, it does exist. I don't care what New Ager tries to convince me, it does exist. I had made other things as well, but there was a supernatural element, and there's still a supernatural element to just, even with the scientific community. Honestly, this world is a lie. I'm going to go ahead and tell you who's out there right now. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care if you're New Age. I don't care who you are. There is a supernatural element to this world that some people, and I'll just say some, but I'll say most people, I guess they don't receive, because there's a difference between hearing, listening, and receiving. The receiving, look at it like this: the receiving's over here and the hearing and listening's over here. So it's like you have this rock. A lot of people are hitting this rock, but you have a few that can get over that rock to receive what I'm telling you. A lot of people are not going to receive what I'm telling you, that there is a supernatural realm out there in this world, in this realm, and outside interfering inside our realm, that a lot of people just go along with, because that supernatural realm sees that they don't receive, but people like me receive, and the beings that are on that, in that supernatural realm, know the people that will receive and the people that will not receive. I'm here to tell you right now, that realm is real. And I would just advise, and I will say, use wisdom, because wisdom is discernment at the end of the day, that I pray that many of you receive before it's too late. Fire and ice, power and anointing out.